I'm Isaki Voelker, creator and author of this channel of Let Me Tell You a Tale. Today's story, which is going to be a part of It's Not What It Seems series, which is a collection of twisted poems and short stories from their world and ours. Our story is going to be inspired by an actual hiking and camping trip that I did experience here in the Nevada desert. Well, technically mountains, because we were going up a little bit away from the desert. But if you've ever been on a hiking trip and things did not go as they seem, yeah, that was this one. Also, I do apologize about my voice and my throat. I am dealing with a little bit of like mucus kind of crap that's going on in my lungs right now. So I do apologize if I sound a little bit off today. But without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Usually I don't say this, but if you do enjoy my stories, please share some links with some friends, text it to them, send them on your social medias, share them about. I would really appreciate it if you guys did that and helped me gain some exposure. I really want to keep pushing for this as much as I am physically and possibly able to do. And so yeah, all right, let's hop into it. Ultimum Vertiginis. Cruising up the winding road, we twisted and turned in sharp movements surrounded by thick pine trees and towering rocky mountain sides. I rolled down my window and poked my head outside just slightly, allowing the wind to push back my short, choppy cut. It cleared my mind and lifted my spirits. This camping trip was just what I needed to get away from the city's daily anxieties. We pulled up to the site, a cleared spot amongst the forest with dirt patches for us to pitch our tent, soon to be invaded by numerous little chipmunks hungry for any scrap they can snatch. In the center of it all was a soot-covered fire pit and cement picnic table with nothing more, but a good amount of space. We were alone, but not entirely isolated. I could see the next spot in the distance and hear the murmurs of speech, but not so as to disturb our peace. There were 4 of us, 2 guys, 1 girl, and 1 non-binary me with my androgynous looks and ways. I was a ruby rose of the group, wearing a black tank, red plaid open long sleeve, and black jeans. Small silver hoops, a quartz pendant necklace, eyeliner, and a few tattoos made me all the more a cliché. My male friends were the Norwegian metalhead type, in all black with beards and kind hearts. The female of the group stood tall and feminine with long pink hair, honeyed skin, and large opal plugs in her ears. We unpacked the mud-covered ORV and pitched our tents. Once finished, we were eager to get an off-trail adventure started. We never could follow the beaten path, even if we wanted to. One of us always wandered off to look at something stupidly obscure. "Where should we go?" Michael asked, as we could head off in any direction. I zipped up my backpack after shoving in my water bottle. "This way!" I yelled enthusiastically and started walking off in a random direction. I was too excited to wait and debate. After all, not all who wander are lost, right? Off we went through the bushes and tall grass right up to the beginning of a trail. We stopped for a moment to ponder the sign showing the details. It was a long hike that seemed to go up one of the mountains and down on another side. "Okay, let's do it," said Stefan. Why not? We've got lots of time," Michael agreed. Amy smiled. She was on the quieter side, where she'd observe more than talk, but that never really bothered any of us. She followed alongside me, just as ready for adventure as I was. The afternoon was still young, with hours to go before it got dark. We planned to be back long before then to start a fire and light up a joint. Pretty little songbirds, perched from up high, sang the tune to our march as we began our ascent into crisper air up the rocky trail. We joked around with each other as we hiked. The guys threw pine cones back and forth in a war of their own making, while Amy and I pointed out funny shapes in the rocks or clouds. Every once in a while, I'd turn around and pelt one of the guys with a surprise attack. We could feel the stress melt off our backs the further we went. The soothing scent of fresh pine and greenery filled our lungs. Vivid hues of red and blue speckled the rocks forming the mountains around us. Not too far off, we could hear water falling from a split in the path. It beckoned us. I stopped and pointed to the split. "We going this way? I want to go to the water." My inner Pisces was screaming. "Ooh, yes!" Amy smiled so that her dimples showed. "Stefan needs a bath anyway." "I think you mean you, buddy." Michael tackled his friend playfully. We were not disappointed when we got to the water. It was clear and serene, with shadows of clouds passing atop the rippling surface. Little bits of grass popped up from the pebbled ground. The waterfall wasn't terribly tall, but it was taller than the guys who tried to climb next to it. Michael nearly slipped and fell in. I lost it with laughter, not looking at where I was going, and stepped into the lake. Great, now my Vans were going to be wet and tight. Serves you right for laughing at me, Michael scoffed. Oh, fuck you. You better watch your back, I joked in return. We hovered for a little while, then continued to move on up the path to new heights. The squish, squish of my shoes making music as we carried on. We hiked for hours through the dense brush and jagged rocks until... Hey guys, it's gonna get dark soon. We should probably head back down soon if we want to get a fire set up before it's completely dark. Stefan pointed to what looked like a path that would eventually run along the edge of the cliffs. This way should get us back faster. My ears started ringing. Wait, say again? I wiggled my pinky finger in my right ear. Come on, we're going this way, Amy called out from behind the guys who were leading the way down the dirt trail. I didn't notice when the ringing faded away, but I knew what it foretold. I was last in line and ran a bit to catch up. We went single file, spaced over burnt, sharp-looking rocks as the path became more and more narrow. It was a precarious going, as we were getting more separated from one another. I looked up to see the burning orange sunset through deep green pine needles piercing the sky. My hand was holding onto the side of the mountain to keep balance, but it wasn't enough. The movement of my head triggered a loss of depth perception. We were about 6 or 7 stories up, and typically I was just fine with heights. But now I felt miles and miles away from the earth below. It was like looking into tunnel vision as my surroundings twisted and my head felt overwhelmed. Almost all sound disappeared as I fought an urge to lean forward into the tangled mess of trees and rocks below. If I fell now... I pushed my back against the rocks behind me to feel stable. I slowly turned my head to the right and saw my friends carry on. Hey guys! Hold up! I called out. I felt I was going to need some help. Hurry up! I heard one of the guys shout. We'll leave you behind! I knew they were joking, but it filled me with fear because they weren't turning around. I inched my way forward, clinging desperately onto the rocks. I had to hold something I knew was stable to keep from falling backwards. The silent, invisible force pulling at my shoulders was like long, clawed hands, grew stronger every baby step I took. We were coming to the plateau where it thinned out only to be about a footstep wide. I started to slowly bend down to my knee, but the edge of the cliff stuck out in sharp, almost black, spiky formations that didn't allow me to crawl. My feet were throbbing severely from my shrunken, wet shoes. Every step was painful after the miles we trekked. I tried taking them off, but the rocks were too sharp to walk on. I could only hope they wouldn't be my downfall. My breathing was becoming rasped. I gasped loudly for air, but it was thin, and I was starting to hyperventilate. I could only hear the pounding of my heartbeat as I looked down. Pump, pump, pump. The sound of my lifeblood only quickened. I remembered I forgot to eat in all my excitement. I remembered I wasn't alone and turned to my right again. No one. These cold hands reached up around my neck once again. Pulsating black sparks started to dance in the air against the burning oranges and pinks in the sky. Everything was on fire, spiraling out of control. This horrid demon of my mind was relentless, its voice a continual, high-pitched ringing in my ears. I tried to focus my eyes on only the spot before my steps when I was struck by a root growing out of the cliffside. The surprise was so strong and sudden that it forced me to step backwards. In my mind, the ground gave way to water as my ankle twisted and nothing felt steady. Everything shifted sideways and I couldn't resist the magnetic pull any longer. Help me, I whispered as I began to fall into darkness. I tumbled backwards slowly, as Alice did when she went down the rabbit hole. Nothing felt normal. My arms went out in front of me. Panic shot down through my spine as a scream started to form. I felt huge hands grab me and pull me back onto the ledge. I hit the rocks a bit too hard and felt the wind knock out of me. What the fuck happened? Are you all right? Michael yelled at me. I nodded my head slowly and tried to find my voice. Vertigo. Why didn't you say anything? I tried. Well, try harder next time. What's going on? Stefan yelled from further up. He and Amy watched as Michael saved me just in time. Amy's hand was over her mouth in horror. I'll be fine. I'm having a vertigo attack. I closed my eyes and felt the world spin like a blender. Or maybe I won't be fine. We waited a couple minutes before I could slowly stand. I put my hand on my friend's shoulders and we cautiously made our way forward. My shoes were squeezing my feet so that every step was painful. The pain was beginning to become more of a distraction than my vertigo as we descended one step at a time. When we got to an area away from the sharp rocks that began to once again open up into the forest, I was able to steady myself on rocks and plants. I still trailed behind because of my stupid shoes, and I felt my friends were very over my dilemmas. The sun was nearly fully set now, with just a few streaks of light remaining. Soon, we would need to use our phones for light. I painfully crunched my way over twigs and uneven rocks as I cursed my shoes. At the moment, I hated them with a passion and couldn't wait to get them ripped off to dry fully. I could count 5 blisters and 2 very raw backs of my ankles. I wanted to cry, because today was turning from a fun-filled day to a miserable night. Darkness crept over the mountains above us. The forest was a different place now that all the light went away. I pulled out my phone and tapped the flashlight button. 4 beams of light guided us along the path in silence. None of us wanted to talk about how I almost died. Soon we would be back at camp, lighting up a joint and cracking open Negro Modelos. Those were the best. I was too emotionally drained and physically exhausted to do much more than mindlessly follow my friend's light from the corner of my eye when I heard, "I see the road! We're just a little ways past that, and then we'll be in the campgrounds again," Stefan called out. "Yay!" I said wearily. Good news, finally. My stomach growled dramatically and gave sharp pains. I was motivated by the additional pain to try and push through as quickly as I could. Obama Kush was calling my name. "We're almost there. Are you doing okay?" Amy hung back a minute to wait for me. "Can't wait for this night to finally end. Tomorrow's gonna be much better. I've got extra shoes and band-aids in the car." I smiled at her and shined the light from under my chin and made a spooky face. She laughed. "I'll race you to the tent. Last one has to roll." "Ha! You're crazy. I'll roll," she called out after me as I took off past the guys. "Come on!" I yelled with the little effort I had left and jogged my way out of the woods and onto the dark, curving road. I stood in the middle and appreciated the silence besides the crunching from my friends now behind me. I gazed up at the stars and saw 100 constellations. I was grateful to be here still and hoped to never experience that again. I'll go hiking again for sure, but I'll be a lot smarter next time and maybe even carry an extra pair of shoes in the backpack. Who knows? My friends were coming to the clear now, and I could make out their faces under the moonlight. I smiled. A horn blared from my left and a bright light blinded me. I turned my head to look, and a moment later I heard screams, felt pain, and fell into darkness once again. Oh? Did you think this story was going to have a happy ending? Ha! No. So, this is, like I said, inspired by a true event that did happen to me. I was up there hiking with a couple of friends up on this mountain that literally was about 1 foot in front of one another, tiny, narrow path. And there were very jagged rocks and edges, and we were, like I said, about 6, 7 stories up, in a normal kind of building. We were very, very high, and maybe a combination of the elevation plus not eating plus, movement and stuff around triggered vertigo. And I do experience vertigo periodically. It's very, very annoying and can be dangerous sometimes if you're driving and you get a vertigo attack, or if you're doing something that could potentially endanger you. And as I described, vertigo is not it's not feeling dizzy. It's not a normal dizziness like people kind of think. It is an invisible force that is pulling on you one way or another to try to make you lean that way. And it just feels like you're on a ship that is swaying in the ocean. And it's very, very hard sometimes to focus or even have conversations, because for me personally, it affects me neurologically. So I did get vertigo when I was up high on these cliffs, and unfortunately I did wear shoes that were 1 size too small for me. They were brand new, and I was kind of dumb. So my feet were aching, and my friends were getting up ahead, and I got vertigo, and I was looking down, and I was like, oh shit. And I did actually start to lose my balance. And if I had fallen from where we were, very well could have ended very, very badly. But, yeah, luckily, obviously, I survived and I'm just fine. I learned some lessons from that, and I wanted my character to not escape like I did. So at the end, they step out onto the road, and even though they escaped falling from a cliff, they got hit by a car. So, yeah, I like, I like endings that are not always what you expect. So, please send this to any of your friends that possibly experience vertigo or that like hiking or, you know, whatever. I know this is a little bit shorter than other ones, but I wanted to share this story next. So, thank you for listening. Subscribe if you haven't already, yada yada. Share my stuff, and I'll see you next time. And just remember, vertigo, it's not what it seems. Be safe out there. And I couldn't wait to get them ripped off of my dry. Blech. I painfully... There were 4 of us, 2 guys, 1 girl, and 1 non-berry me. Non-berry. Non-binary. Non-binary. Not non-berry. Is it strawberry shortcake? There were 4 of us, 2 guys, 1 girl, and 1 non-binary with... Binary. Non-binary. This doesn't sound right. There were 4 of us, girl. I'm not even getting it right. There were 4 of us, 2 guys, 1 girl, and 1 binary with me. 1 binary. Binary? Binary.